All right, great. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to call the March 12th, 2026 meeting of the Lexington Planning Commission to order. And the first item on our agenda is approval of the agenda. Does anybody have anything that they need to comment on, or if not, I'll take a motion in a second.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? And the motion carries unanimously. Next item is approval of the minutes. So we have two different sets of minutes. The first one is from the February 12th, 2026. So does anybody have any comments or changes, corrections?
One small correction on the first set of the February 12th minutes.
Mhm.
Public comment at the bottom of page 1. Student Natalie Egger, E-G-E-R, not Edgar.
Thank you. I was wondering about that and I couldn't find it.
I had one note on the the February 12th minutes, page 2, item 3. VMI's, this is the third line from the bottom of the first paragraph. VMI's core physical training facility. I think that's like CORPS capitalized, and physical training is probably capitalized as well.
Thank you for those catches. And then also the line above that is Spencer proposed adding VDOT to a policy, but that was not to a policy, it was to a list of properties. And Brinsley, you've got the changed text. Great. Any other changes to the February 12th? Okay, so let's I'll take a motion and a second for those amendments.
Move to approve as amended.
And a second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and opposed, and the motion carries unanimously. So we'll move on to the notes. We did not have a quorum at the February 26, 2026 Planning Commission meeting, so these are presented in the form of notes. Does anybody have any comments, questions, corrections? If not, I had one question about the figure, sorry, this is on page 2. Going in the section 3, the numbered section 3 and the second paragraph of that section, where we're talking about the median home price increase of 76%. And I wasn't quite sure. I just suggested that we run that by the math, unless you
And I
figured it out exactly.
No, I suggested that also in my written submittal,
Okay.
that you know, I had done some calculating and that's what I came up with, but somebody needed to check that.
Okay.
math.
So you all were going to talk to somebody, I think.
Well, I would guess that Jeremy's gonna check that.
We reminded after the notice, we reminded Jeremy of that, and I did look back and you already had that in your written note,
Right.
as you just mentioned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Terrific. All right. Any other notes or changes? And if not, is that an amendment or is that?
No, because
No.
it's one of the things we asked Jeremy just to look at. I don't think we really.
Okay. So
Just-
then,
That's actually what was stated during the meeting, so I think we should leave that alone.
Yeah.
And just,
and you've let him know.
Check.
Okay. So we'll just take a motion and a second as presented.
Move to approve the notes as presented.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And opposed? And the motion carries unanimously. And now we'll move on to section 4. Citizens' comments on matters not on the agenda. If anybody has any items that they want to talk about something that's not on our agenda already. Floor is open and closed. Moving on to new business. First item of new business is Entrance Corridor Certificate of Appropriateness 2026-03, an application by Drew Kepley of Washington and Lee University for a certificate of appropriateness for construction of Founders Hall at 204 West Washington Street on a portion of the 2.39 parcel tax map number 16-1-1. I believe we have some recusals. So.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. So in accordance with Virginia Code 2.2-31112A and B and 3115F, I declare that I have a personal interest in the City of Lexington Planning Commission's consideration of entrance corridor certificate of appropriateness application 2026-03 because of my employment with Washington and Lee University, 204 West Washington Street, Lexington, Virginia, 24450, and that my personal interest could be affected by this transaction. Washington and Lee University is the owner of the property that is the subject of the entrance corridor certificate of appropriateness application, which is identified as TM 16-1-1. While I may not be disqualified from participating in this transaction under Virginia Code 2.2-3112, I have elected to disqualify myself under Virginia Code 2.2-3115F. Therefore, I will not participate in the Planning Commission's consideration of entrance corridor certificate of appropriateness application 2026-03.
And thank you. I have the same declaration, except it's my spouse's employment with Washington and Lee.
And does she need to read that out or no, Arnie? No? Okay, great,
It'll be handed in, so we'll
Yeah.
have them with the record.
perfect, thank you. All right, anybody else? Are we good? All right. Okay, do we have a staff report?
We do. Good evening. First of all, the parcel is located in the general residential zoning district and in the institutional overlay district. It is the institutional overlay district that requires design review be accomplished through the entrance corridor regulations. It's just how it's written. It seems a little bit odd, but that's where we are with this particular project. So again, design review for the Founders Hall building simply requires the entrance corridor design review.
Mhm.
As you know, this is a project to replace the early Fielding building with the new building known as Founders Hall. In the application materials, there is a lot of design review. So there are a lot of proposed elevations, development concept plans, examples of existing materials on the WNL campus, planting plan, lighting plan, and lighting cut sheets. We were having trouble presenting this to you in 11x17 because of our printer issues, but luckily the university provided what you have there on those larger sheets, so you can see the detail a little bit more readily than just in the 11x17s in the packet. I have a photograph there of the early Fielding building. And in the next section, because this particular project touches all 5 of the subsections for the entrance corridor, we've listed those out on page 10 and 11. So those are in effect your criteria for judging this particular request for the design review. And again, there's landscaping standards, there's signage standards, architecture standards, site planning, and lighting. And for what it's worth, it is staff's opinion that the proposed Founders Hall project meets all the design standards, including the entrance corridor overlay district. Proposed landscaping is consistent with the remainder of the WNL campus. The proposed signage is limited, and the architectural details are generally consistent with other buildings on the WNL campus. And then the last thing just to point out, and you already have all the copies, but you see in response to those 5 subsections for standards, that's what WNL has provided to you as far as exhibits to hopefully address those specific standards. Happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions for Arnie?
I'm not sure if anybody else was curious about the, I don't know what a lighting cut sheet is. I don't know what that is.
That very last page, the one that's the hardest to read, all those little details. Sorry, cut sheet's a spec sheet or a detailed sheet. So on the last
This one?
one that has all,
Sorry.
all right, sorry, we're using the cut sheet terminology. So it's a specification sheet.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions before we move on? Okay, thank you very much, Arnie. And do we have an applicant statement? By the way, thank you for providing these. It's much easier to read.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Tom Kolaski, the Executive Director of Facilities at Washington Lee University. And as Arnie stated, any application for certificate of appropriateness must satisfy 5 or design standards in 5 areas: landscape, lighting, architecture, site, and signage. So I was just going to have a few comments about each one of those, and then we can answer any questions. So the landscaping is going to have some both evergreens as well as deciduous. We want to have plantings, foundation plantings that provide seasonal interest, plus also complement the building, but not overpower the building. These will all be, for the most part, native species with no irrigation requirements. A native species like Appalachian dogwood, Virginia sweet spire, those types of things. And the landscaping again is going to just be around the foundation plantings. As far as signage is minimal. We'll have the required 911 address on the building. We will also have on the tablature of the building, the name of the building, which will be in aluminum pin letters, very much like what you see in there, the way you recently did on the Lindley Center. As far as architecture, I think we've been in front of you a couple times, so the architecture and the footprint of the building should be familiar to everyone. The architecture respects the W&L vernacular, but also has some contemporary elements to it. It would, if you wanted to classify it, it would kind of be a neoclassical architecture, simple, symmetrical. So that's, and it also will complement the other buildings along the street with the Tuscan columns and things like that. The as far as the site planning goes, we will be submitting following this a complete set of plans for site plan approval, which gets into locations of dumpster enclosures and some parking and the like. All of those mechanical and utility type things are actually in Early Fielding Way, which is the alley behind the building. So from a sight line or view shed, it's going to be Chi Psi fraternity looking at it. But if you go up Early Fielding Way now, what we did at the new Williams School as far as enclosures will be typical of what we do here, the very similar details. As far as site lighting goes, there's only 4 or 5 different types of lighting. They all meet night conservancy requirements. Nothing new for W&L. We've been doing that for years. They're all LED fixtures. So the lighting is just to provide safe means of travel. And the pole lights are just our typical university standard. I think there's only 5 of those. So it's not a overly illuminated building. So that lighting is pretty simple. One thing that is not one of the requirements is, but that W&L is deeply committed to and takes seriously, sustainability. This building is being designed to LEED Silver. And so that encompasses everything, how we tear down and the recycled materials from the early fielding to the building. And so we do take that seriously. Question, I don't have the answer to it, but I would be curious as to a town the size of Lexington, how many of them have 4 or will have 4 LEED certified buildings within a 2 city blocks. So I'd be interesting to hear that. So that concludes my comments. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Does anybody have questions?
I have a few questions on the lighting, just because I have difficulty reading this. And I'm sure that it'll be straightforward. One of the bollards was not cited as being night sky compliant. Is that true?
I read that as well. It's the
42-inch.
Right.
Yep.
Is that being used in the plan?
It is. There's actually, I think, 5 of those.
right. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're by the porch, the porch that's on Washington and
Symbol.
Yeah, there's two of,
one on Lee.
there's two of them back in the alley next to the parking. And there's three going up the walkway
Oh, I see.
into early fielding. And then there's three tucked up against the
I see.
Yeah.
All right, wait, which, like, which symbol is
Here
this
it
again?
is.
It is N as in Nancy. I can, if it helps, I can point them out to you.
That would be helpful.
It's, it's the ones I have circled in there.
These ones.
So there's 9.
One, you have 3, 6, 9, and 11. It's two that.
Those look like different ones.
In the back. Yeah, I only see 9.
Like beacons.
Okay.
I thought it was this.
No, it's this
X2, X2,
Yeah, it's this one. That's
X2.
Yeah, it's, if you want to look. This is the fixture.
Right. So it's X2, the symbol.
Right, it's
No.
up here, it's called X2 in this, yeah, in the label, it says X2. If not one.
Yeah. I didn't-
Okay, so we're clear on
I think
where they are.
Yep, I think
What-
I think we're, so Charlie, do you want to?
Just, and what's the rationale for using a non-night sky compliant?
It's
Bollard.
one, it's university standard one we've been using, and I don't know why it's not certified as that. We deem it to not have light pollution, and we have a lot of them on campus, primarily up around Elrod Commons, the new,
Presumably they distribute light in a broader circle, I guess.
well, we did a whole photometric study on all the lighting, and that's how we determine the quantity and the location of each of the various fixtures. And the bollard lights are really, it's more of a wayfinding type light.
Mhm.
Right.
And that's why we have them along the walk and back at the parking spaces.
Is there any illumination of the walls of the structure?
Now, we're not,
No washing,
we're not celebrating.
No
building
uplighting.
light.
no uplighting? Yeah.
Again, this is more wayfinding and for safety. Now, the pole lights, which is our standard light, that's along the sidewalk.
Do you have any other questions on so is there a reason why you're not using the small bollards that are right in that image? Sorry, in this image. Yes,
Oh,
the
we are,
down,
we
yeah,
are using those.
right. I'm just wondering why you're not using those instead of these other bollards.
It's just, these are a flat bollard and they go up against the walls. They're not necessarily a sturdy freestanding bollard.
So all right, so I'm trying to make sure that I'm referring to these correctly. I'm looking at, it says UPRA, UPRA 10,001. That's the one I'm talking about. So that one is the one that goes up against the building. Is that correct?
This,
The one that's actually really downlighted. Sorry,
so.
this one.
here again.
Yep.
I think you're referring to.
That's correct.
This fixture, which we call L. So L is. L would be everything I have in blue here,
All
all of it.
All
Laid
these,
against the
okay.
fixtures, right?
Right.
And so they're a directional light. The bollard has 360, where this just throws out 180.
Mhm.
Oh. Okay. All those little guys, yeah.
And I'm curious, since these the ones that you have labeled N are all either up against a wall or they are along a path on one side of the path, why you would need 360-degree lighting on those rather than 180-degree lighting.
Well, this is a sidewalk, so
Right.
it's going up. This is not tight against the building, so it's illuminating the sidewalk all the way around.
But also the bushes on the other side.
Right. And then in the back, that's the parking area, so on the sidewalk, so we want 360 there.
Okay, does anybody, I do have another question about something else. Does anybody else have any other questions? Or
Not on the lighting.
not on the lighting? Anybody else on the lighting? I do have a question about the pole lighting,
We call it a period style pole.
say it again?
We call it a period style pole.
A period style. I'm just about the quality of the light. Is that warm lighting? Do you have the ability to choose warm lighting as opposed to the sort of blue daylight? Yes, that one.
Probably gonna be about a 3,000 Kelvin,
Okay.
I think the white
which is,
blue that you're talking about is like 5,000.
yeah,
Okay.
so it's the middle of the road. The 5,000, I call it appliance showroom lighting.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be down in the 3,000 range.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other questions for any other part of this besides lighting?
I did have a question about on the first page here. I know we talked about it at a previous meeting. Is this where the parking currently is? And those are shrubs or trees being put there or? These two?
That's where the parking is.
Oh, this is where the
These are
parking.
Two existing sweet gum trees, they're mature trees, are
Okay.
probably 50, 60 feet tall.
So the parking that's existing now is where labeled B on this drawing then, which has, I think you brought up before, it was been eliminated.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
And was that just
Yes.
for
B-
better
B-
curb appeal? You're moving it to the rear, it looks like, of
Yeah,
the
the
new
handicap
design.
parking's in the rear.
And just overall
It's
parking.
to accommodate the terrace and to
Okay,
frankly adjust the grades as to.
okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
And my understanding, you came and presented about a parking area you're gonna redo the parking area down on Jefferson, correct?
Yes. In fact, we were also going to come just kind of I don't know, a working session, if you want to call it, or informational session. We have engaged Timmons, who's going to do a parking management study for us. It's going to be about another 6 months till that's complete. We just recently engaged him like this week, so and we're looking at things across campus holistically. So it'll not only address this, but everything on campus. And we're going to be working closely with the city of Lexington as well to make sure that the interfaces meet the requirements as well.
Great. Anybody else?
Is with the parking, it seems like it's going to be hard to convince people to park in like a parking space that's not near here when there's so much street parking right there on Lee Avenue and Washington Street. How is that at least being like discussed and thought about of like how to encourage people to not park there?
Well, with families coming to admissions, we have whole packets on planning your visit, where to stay, where to park, where to eat. And it's their first time in town, so they typically will follow the directions they were given, so they know where to park. So, so yeah, it's all part of the packet that goes out to visitors coming to campus.
I worked in admissions for like a year and a half and
That's right.
it's we never got people to follow. Like, I know like people like they call like the day of where am I supposed to park? What am I supposed to be doing? And so is it going to be in the packet of like, don't park on the street, please only park in Washington and Lee's designated areas? Or like,
I don't know the exact verbiage of the admissions packet, but I do know we send out a whole packet and show parking, and it has a campus map too, and with all the designated parking spaces.
Is there going to be a handicap space close to this
Yeah.
building as there is?
There's not only handicap drop off where there is no parking, so it's for drop off only, but yes, and that'll be reviewed as part of the site plan approval to make sure that we have the code compliant handicap parking.
The
And
drop
where-
off zone, is that on Lee Avenue, this cut,
Where you
this
see the
curve cut?
kind of the indentation there.
So that'll be lost spaces as well, street
Yeah.
parking spaces, and that'll be true on Sundays, for example, when Grace Church is in session and the folks are looking for places to park.
Right, and as I mentioned at our last meeting, we've presented these plans to the rector, not only for site planning, but also just so, as far as the architectural vernacular of the building, because, so he was getting questions from his parishioners, so
Sure.
we had him over and went through everything, and, so he's aware of.
Anything else?
Looks like 7 street trees. Is that what I count?
We have the hornblende trees, which are a tall polymer type tree. We have one weeping cherry, and I think there's
Are these-
four dogwoods,
Those are existing?
all new.
No, they'll be all, yeah, okay. 4
The only
dogs.
existing trees are those mature sweet gums, which are in front of Evans right now.
And the hornblends are they on either side of the corner steps?
I think that's correct.
Is that a native? The hornblende
Hornblende is not.
is not.
It's an urban tree, which you see quite a bit, so. I think there's 3 of them, actually.
Hmm.
There's side of the step.
And what are the other trees then? There's
We
one.
have a weeping cherry here. These are Appalachian spring dogwoods and then 3 horn plants. So
Sorry, the weeping cherry is where one of the sweet gums is,
now it's right on.
which is where one of the sweet gums is. Right there.
So we have what we call understory trees.
Gotcha. Yep.
So dogwood, weeping cherry, those are understory trees, so which means they can be planted underneath other trees.
Sure. Great. Anybody else?
My one little question, just to sort of piggyback on what Charlie was saying is this area here that's labeled A, B, it's like a little cutout on Lee. That's where the drop off is going to be. Okay, just double checking on that. Okay.
It does seem a little bit like you're gonna create if somebody is dropped off, they're dropping off on the first floor, and then they're gonna have to drive all the way back down Main Street, go around. That's correct, right?
However they want to go, yeah.
Yeah.
If
Or
they're
park on the
going to
street.
The parking, yeah.
Yeah.
And as part of our site plan approval, we did submit a traffic study that was prepared by GTF.
Yeah.
So that's all part of our submittal.
And I'm sorry, that's handicap drop off, not parking.
That's not the parking.
Where is the handicap
It's in
parking?
the back in the alley. You
And
see
there
spots
at
there.
the,
Yes.
okay. Thank you. Okay. Anything else from anyone? I appreciate the native plantings a lot. I think that's really great for the wildlife, but also it does make it easier for those plants to survive in this region. So thank you. All right. Thank you so much. We might need you back. Okay, do we have any public comment on this item on the agenda? Opening the public comment and closing public comment. And then we're gonna have our commission discussion. Does anybody have any thoughts? What are we thinking? I'm concerned about the lighting that you brought up. I had also flagged that. Anybody else?
Can I, Arnie, sometimes we'll do this. Like, what exactly are we what are we approving or saying is it like the whole thing? Everything? We can say we don't like this, don't like.
Correct. I'm
Okay.
just gonna ask you again, is you're having a request in front of you? I would just recommend that you focus on the standards that you have on pages 10 and 11. But yes, if you have an issue with one particular item, you could potentially approve all the others and come back and further discuss that one item if that's how you want to move forward.
Thank you.
Okay. So would it be helpful to go through these items one by one and just see if anybody, because if we don't have any issues with certain items, then we can skip over them entirely. Does that sound like a plan?
Does sound like a plan.
Does that work for you all? Okay. So first section is landscaping. Landscaping shall be used to soften the visual impact of development and enhance the appearance of the area. I did actually have I have a question. Sorry, maybe you could answer this question. Will there be additional bushes? These are just trees. Are you going to also plant bushes along?
There's inkberry, there's a couple, two different species of holly as well.
Okay. And that's just sort of all in the screen area.
Right.
If you look at this page, it's all landscaping where it shows all the. bushes and everything.
The entire, looks like the entire
Ah, right.
foundation.
Okay, I
As,
gotcha.
as, being,
It's not, so the other page, so that's the lighting one.
No, I've got it's got
Oh, yours. is-
bushes on it too.
Okay.
Yep, sorry, I just missed that. All right. Thank you. So everybody okay?
I
with that?
I missed the meeting in early December where you guys discussed the site. The change in the height and setback.
Ah, yeah.
That was all about Washington Street setback. So that's
Yeah,
the photo.
yes, that was, yep.
The Lee setback is very, very short.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there's really been any consideration or much consideration given to really landscaping it's what, 12 feet in some places? Something like 13 feet. If that's really enough space even to put trees. Although Appalachian dogwoods are small,
Right, they're not
small and
street
slow
tree.
growing, right?
So these are all dogwoods, I believe. And then a couple of horn blend.
Yeah.
That are along Lee Avenue.
If that's enough space to effectively visually mass of the scale of this building, which is quite large. It's a pretty massive building. And if 13 feet is enough space to plant it and to really reduce that in any way, effectively visually reduce that.
So tall or thin trees would,
Hornblende.
right, hornblende or others, arborvitae type plantings. Arnie, is that the kind of recommendation that we could make?
If you can justify that with the standards that you have, yes.
Okay. So landscaping shall be used to soften the visual impact of development. I think that's the section that
Maybe-
we're talking about.
Maybe what we need is a visual of what this is going to look like. All of the street plan views, it's not plan views, elevations
Mhm,
are lacking landscape.
they are.
We have.
Yes, please.
We do have renderings of the landscape. We just didn't include them in this, but actual, with CAD drawings, nowadays, we have complete colored landscape drawings.
I think that that would be quite helpful to really understanding what we're what the impact is and what we're approving.
Are those renderings done from a street perspective, from a like 5 feet above grade?
We
perspective,
can
eye
do
level?
whatever angle you want, from any different elevation from all over the streets. It's programs called Revit, and you can pretend like you're in a drone and go anywhere you want to see the different.
Sounds fun. I would personally like to see the Lee side in particular, Lee Street side in particular, elevation from us, from the street, or from 5 feet above the sidewalk, eye level. Looking toward this building with the landscaping. I would like to see that.
Also be good to see it sort of from the downhill slope where like Hillel House is towards the post office, so that so you get sort of a diagonal view of it also from
would be
5
great.
feet, sort of visual.
We can do that. One thing I didn't mention, which also plays into that view shed, are the existing power lines along Lee Avenue. We're working with the city and Dominion and others to have those all put underground.
That's wonderful.
That's
That's
great.
awesome.
So
That'll be fantastic.
Yeah, that's.
Okay, so it looks like we're asking to see
Yeah.
Street
to
elevation landscaping from different perspectives.
elevation with landscaping. Different perspectives. Okay. Thank you. I'm sure you'll come back
I
up
think I was
again.
gonna say-
Okay. Landscaping are we good with that number 1 under landscaping? Okay. Landscaping shall be sufficient to soften the visual effects of parking lots, reduce the effective visual mass of large buildings, and provide screening between development, the street, and surrounding lots. So I think that it sounds like number 2 is also being addressed by that request. Any other thoughts on number 2? Okay, number 3 is landscape buffers shall be provided adjacent to public streets of sufficient size to permit street trees and plantings to be installed to reduce the visibility into parking lots. So this
To
is,
be applicable.
yeah, I think that's right. Since we are not worried about the parking lot is really not very visible, and yeah. So number 4, landscaping shall be compatible with landscaping on adjacent properties, and it certainly is the case uphill on Washington Street. I don't know that I don't even know what the landscaping is in front of these other 3 houses right across the street. That's quite a narrow.
I don't think there's much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think large trees have been removed there in the last recent past.
Hmm.
There's some stumps.
Okay, so it looks like landscaping we have now addressed. Signage, each partial, does anybody have any concerns about the signs before I read through these?
Signage is just going to be the name of the building, Founders Hall.
The name
rather
of the
than-
building, and also 911 address
Mhm.
and any other signage for handicap parking as required by code.
Everybody okay with the signage? Okay. We get a pass on the signage. Architecture, materials, colors, and general style of the building. Any concerns with architecture? Other than the size, I think that, I don't have any particular concerns about, this looks very similar to the Williams what is that building again? The William,
The new Williams School
the
building.
Williams School. Okay.
Mhm.
Site planning. Parking lot layout shall respond to the topographic characteristics of the site. There's not really any parking except for behind the building. And otherwise there's on-street parking in front. Is that correct?
Yeah, on Lee Avenue.
No, sorry, on Washington Street.
No,
No parking on Washington Street at all?
not on the side where we are.
I don't think it's on either side because at least not right by the church
Yeah,
because
it's
like
on.
it stops
it
like
would
right
be
before you
on
turn onto Lee
the,
and then there's not.
Grace Episcopal and Hillel side of the street.
Got it. Okay. Well, maybe I should ask, does anybody have any, do we want me to run
There-
through
there-
these site
no
planning?
Parking except for the pedestrian, would just allow.
Right. And, right, so pedestrian access from the sidewalk into individual project sites. And you have,
Accessibility for
Sorry.
handicap accessibility is through the Lee Street lower door. Is that?
Through there, and also there's ramps where you can go in the main door as well. So
Excuse me.
there's,
Oh, I see. Yeah.
okay, so are we good with site planning? Okay. Moving on to lighting. I'm going to read through these. Lighting should be of uniform style for each project site. And it looks like they are, although there are multiple types of lighting, they are uniform within the universities.
right, these are all fixtures.
They're all-
that we have throughout campus.
Right. Lighting should be contained within the site and designed to limit spillover and minimize the amount of light that is directed to the sky. So that's where we run into the issue with these
Leaky bollards.
in bollards. So I'm going to put a pin in that one for us to come back to. Light poles shall not exceed 24 feet in height. They are not. Is that correct?
Actually at 19, no,
Nine-
I'm sorry, they're at 13 feet high.
Right. So we're good with that. And that's it. So let's go back to talking about the spillover from these bollards, which are not night sky compliant, which is a requirement in our in our ordinances.
If I can simplify things,
Yeah.
we'll re-specify that bollard with one that is night sky compliant.
That would definitely simplify things for me.
Cut to
Help
the-
me too.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to get night sky compliant lighting. That goes with the style. Okay. Okay, so beyond that. I believe, so Arnie, can you give us some direction on how we would want, since we want to still see the landscaping?
You can handle this in two ways. One is to just defer until the next meeting, the entire thing.
Okay,
Or if you choose, you could also go ahead and approve everything but that and ask that 3 additional not perspectives, elevations be brought at your next meeting to show the elevations with the landscaping in front of it.
okay. Does that sound good? Okay,
Which?
the second one, I think.
Mhm,
The second one, yeah. Approve the things that we can approve and let them keep going in their process and
Everything minus the landscaping
Everything.
and then do we need to see the light or we're just,
I would be dark sky compliant. So.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think,
just anything that's dark, yeah, similar.
We'll bring more cut sheets
Mhm.
that state that it's night sky compliant. And Arnie, just so I'm clear on everything. So tonight we can get a conditional approval with the understanding that we're going to respect the bollard for night sky compliant. We're going to provide elevations of Lee Avenue with the landscaping. And I want to make sure that we can continue in our process and submit for site plan approval as a parallel effort.
You can always submit and then we can consider that and not lose time if that's the
Okay.
question. And while this is coming back in 2 weeks. As long as you can get the things that we're asking for, but it's in the computer anyway, and that, and you can find a bollard within a week. So as long as you get to that to us by
okay.
Friday, we can have it for
Okay,
2 weeks from now.
all right, good.
And you can
Thanks.
still submit the other application, which we can then send out to staff to start looking at the site plan. Pretty.
So
Thanks,
is this a conditional approval or is it a partial approval?
That was just a term I used.
Yeah, I just want to be clear on what we're,
I'm not sure that it matters what you call it. You can just say in your motion to approve, I move to approve everything that was submitted except for the landscaping section and the one bollard to be brought back at the next meeting.
okay. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so are we ready? Okay, I'll take a motion and a second. Who wants to craft it?
I'll take a shot at it. I move to approve the entrance corridor certificate of appropriateness application ECCOA 2026-03 for the construction of the new Founders Hall at the southwest corner of Washington Street and Lee Avenue, as proposed by the applicant, except for landscaping, where we would like to see cut sheets, let's call them elevations, of the Lee Street elevation with landscaping from a 5-foot level above the sidewalk perspective, eyeball perspective.
Two
And-
separate ones.
And we want also, we're also accepting the bollard approval of a replacement for the one that they have proposed that leaks light.
Right. And I think the elevations, it was two separate ones.
Oh, right.
One was, one was directly and
One
one
was-
was down the street.
One was oblique towards the post office.
All right. Okay, does that work? Okay.
Brinsley, can you pull the right words out of that? Put them together correctly. God
Excellent.
bless
Do
you.
we have a second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
I
Aye. Did I hear anything from your side?
said I.
You said, aye. All right, opposed. And the motion carries unanimously. Okay, you can move along in your process. Thank you so much. All righty. So the next items on the agenda are comprehensive plan review. Do we have additional? This is CPA 2025-01, comprehensive plan review, the transportation chapter by Jeremy Crute with, right, sorry, folks coming back up to the dais. Transportation chapter presented by Jeremy Crute with the Central Shenandoah Planning District Commission. So, staff report. You're taking over the staff role.
Thank you. And good evening, as always, Jeremy Crute, 312 Vine Street, or that happened to see address. Apologies again.
We're going to get the microphone up a little bit higher here,
Never mind.
I'll swap a little bit.
or not.
Apologies for not having a completed. Oh, wow.
I feel it.
Perfect. Thank you. I guess apologies, I do not have a completed draft of the transportation chapter for you to review yet. It is all done except for a couple of very small pieces, including the crash analysis, which is almost there, but isn't quite there yet. So I certainly am happy to talk through what's represented in the transportation chapter, as well as some of the stakeholder engagement that will be feeding into it at this time. But I'm also would be happy to table that discussion until you actually have a chance to see, review, have read, have provide comments, et cetera, as we would normally be our practice. So yeah, so I should be able to provide that completed draft of it on either Monday or Tuesday. But unfortunately do not have it for you at this time. So my apologies for that.
Quite all right.
Would you like me to walk through transportation things, or would you prefer to go to table it until you have a chapter 2 review?
I feel like it might be more helpful to have it in front of us beforehand so that we can really follow along, if that's okay with you.
Fine with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here? Do you have,
Since we're not at a public hearing or at a position where we're making decisions, we're just going to bring it back on the next agenda.
okay,
Correct.
all right.
Also, the land use item that was gonna next was that.
I can cover those. Those are just because we had 3 properties where we're just trying to figure out whether or not there's an inconsistency. Do we need to address it or not? So those.
Okay. So are you gonna be sticking around then or?
Oh, absolutely
Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much. Okay, so we're gonna table that discussion until our next meeting, and then move on to item C under new business, which is CPA 2025-01 comprehensive plan review, land use chapter follow-up for 3 properties discussed at the last meeting. Do we have a staff report?
Indeed, at the last meeting where we had 3 members present, we made all the decisions, but we still thought we'd bring it back for a discussion. No, they actually didn't want to make decisions without the full board having some review of this. And this is just, we have 3 specific properties and just thinking ahead, do we want to make changes to the future land use designation while we have the land use chapter in particular open? So just to go through those on page 24, we have what we're going to call the Knox House, or what I call the Knox House, purchased by the city, fortunately, and most of the property was already split off and has been added to the cemetery. So that was the huge benefit there. But now we have a single family dwelling on a piece of property all the way down at the end of New Marketplace. So the question is simply, sorry, you see the zoning that it's currently R1, parks and open space for the cemetery, and across the street, which is the back side of Sheets, is this, actually it's C2 zoning district. That's a mistake.
C2. Yeah.
C2. And then on the next page, on page 25, you'll notice that the Knox House at 140 New Marketplace is actually in the conservation and open space designation. So it's simply a question, it doesn't need to be changed, but should it be changed? And to describe that a little bit more in detail, if somebody wants to rezone the property in the future, we would look at the future land use map. What does that tell us about the property or about the vision for that property? And currently it just says conservation open space. So if somebody were to come in and wanted to do something else with it, if it's commercial or even if it's residential, add on to the property or do something more than what's there, they would not only have to ask for a rezoning, they'd also have to ask for a comprehensive plan amendment to change the future land use map. So it's just a question, and that's fine. You can leave that decision until that point and just leave the property as is in the conservation open space designation. Or you can go ahead and provide a little bit more clarity if you want on what should that property be in the future. So if there's a feeling that it's okay for that, for the commercial to jump the street to that property, then you may want to think about changing that to the commercial center designation, or perhaps changing it to one of the residential designations, which one would be the traditional neighborhood. I can't remember what the other one was, if suburban or not. But it's just to point out that first, you don't really have to do anything because it can be addressed during a rezoning with an accompanying future land use map designation change. Or do you leave it as it is? Because it's, sorry, the second point was, it's just an anomaly for what the property is, what is actually occurring on the property with the future land use designation. So should that be addressed or not?
And Arnie, is there, for a future land use map, the designations don't match up exactly with our zoning? There is a mixed use to one, isn't
Right,
there?
there
Which
is, and that's shown on the
kinda
next
is a
page. the
transition
bright
area.
pink one.
So with mixed use, does it mean it could be residential or commercial? Is that?
Right, and usually
It
kind
could
of
go
more of a
either way
lighter,
then?
what do you say, a lighter commercial?
I can bring it up or pull it up, but we do have a chart in the comp plan that says for each of the designations that we have, these are the zoning districts that are consistent with that. So we could pull that up and you could see in the mixed use, or townhouses or, light commercial, what is exactly, what are the zoning districts that would be allowed.
And as currently, it cannot be residential or it only can be used for conservation. Is that correct?
What is there is fine. It just cannot be expanded. So bad
Oh.
example, if you wanted to put a duplex there instead of a single family, that would be inconsistent because you're going beyond what's currently there.
It would be inconsistent.
Inconsistent.
And even if you wanted to use it like, say, a short-term rental
Mhm.
with the R1 zoning, it could not be short-term rental unless you
Live
you're
there.
living there. Yeah, so
Right.
if you want it to be RLC, you'd be better off if it was mixed use rather than a resident R1 on the future land use map.
It
Is that
doesn't,
true?
it
Correct me if
doesn't-
I'm wrong, but
Yep.
that's, yeah.
I've got to make sure that the zoning districts, because I don't have those memorized with what zoning districts go with each of the
Yeah.
land use designations, but I think you're correct. Yes.
it seems like it's it would be an odd place to put a residential, like a specifically residential use there, because on the one side you've got a gas station and on the other side you've got a cemetery. Neither of which really seems like the best friend of a residential house, single house, or even a duplex. How big is the property?
Oh, I don't think I included that. I believe it's an acre, but I can't promise you that at this moment.
Related to that, how much of a buffer is there between that property and the historic cemetery proper? Right? I mean, that's right adjacent there, that whole region, but how close to the actual historical burial ground is the parcel that we're discussing at this moment?
You see the sort of the pathway going into the cemetery,
Yeah.
and the graves are all along that area. But over time,
Right.
those graves are obviously going to be getting closer and closer
Yeah,
to the house.
yeah.
I can't give you a distance currently, if that's what you're asking.
And what kind of shape is this house in?
I've never been in, but it looks okay from the outside.
It's been rented up until January and it's usable. Yeah.
And the city owns it.
And it is right up against the bypass. So there's a steep hill that goes up to the bypass. You actually look down on this property.
And is the city wanting to sell it?
Right. If the city wanted to keep it as open space, we wouldn't be selling it. So we
Right.
want to sell it and want it to be able to be used for something.
Okay.
I'm a little bit hesitant myself, just because I think that cemetery is a really important space that has a lot of important meaning for a lot of people, and I know there's commercial all around on the other side of the street, but having that border there at New Marketplace at least contains it in some way. I know there's already a house there, but the thought of us allowing, again, in general, you all know I'm in favor of allowing more development, both commercial and housing, but us just allowing that to happen here, that kind of encroachment on that space, I do have some concerns about that. And given that, that would be, it seems like a big step. And while there's the formal opportunity for community input here, I'm not sure that everybody who might be concerned by that is necessarily aware of the fact that we're considering that possibility right now. Yeah.
And I'll just add, if you recall, when we accepted this, because this came before planning commission, right? Has this piece of property come, because we subdivided
Split.
it, yeah, we subdivided.
And the
So there is
recent-
a larger piece of property that's totally undeveloped that is now part of the cemetery. So the city can plan to have some kind of buffer from whatever is on that piece of property.
Mm.
And again, the city has decided we don't want that to own that house and for whatever use. And because the city owns it, they can determine, at least for the first buyer, how it gets used. So there is quite a bit of control at this point.
Use might be a nice alternative.
I'm sorry, what would?
Mixed use.
Mm.
Could I read into the record what the zoning districts are that are compatible with mixed use, if that's helpful?
Please, yeah.
Okay, multifamily residential, RLC, which is your residential light commercial, and your C1 central business district, and your planned unit development, which needs to be changed because we've changed planned unit development. So we do have a little chart table that tells us the different designations in the zoning districts that are compatible with those designations.
Is residential just residential?
So we have a suburban residential, which is R2, which you would expect parks and open space and planned unit development. In a traditional neighborhood, we have R1, and then again, the parks and open space and the planned unit development.
So I tend to land where John is. And I guess maybe what I would say is that perhaps it's better to wait until we have a potential use and then have a sense of how much of an impact that would have of whatever the plan was. Because if it was for example, a fast food restaurant, that would be really inappropriate, I think, next to a cemetery. And this particular cemetery, as the historic African American cemetery, has been at the short end of a lot of sticks. And so it feels disrespectful to sort of be thinking about allowing commercial development right there. That's my perspective on it. Anybody else?
I would agree with that. And while I'm sympathetic to the city's desire to make something of this property, it doesn't preclude that possibility. It just makes it more difficult. And that would give city planners an opportunity to think.
Right. Yeah.
I also agree with that because I think if somebody were to purchase it and they would come before the planning and people could also speak their concerns about whatever they were planning to put there at that time without us trying to envision what it possibly could be.
Right. So it sounds like maybe anybody else?
I agree.
Okay. Sounds like maybe we're just going to leave it as is. Leave well enough alone. Okay. What's the next item?
Similar discussion, but over on page 26, for the RARO and health department buildings. Again, nothing's planned for those at this moment in time, but those are all showing as in the actually split zone, but they're in that conservation open space again. And then we have two buildings in conservation open space. So does it need to be addressed? Or do you take the same tactic that you just did and leave it as is until a proposal comes in that can then, if needed, be rezoned and have a comp plan amendment for that designation change?
I do have a question about this. On page 28, you've got the yellow line around those two. Well, it's around the part of the RARO and health department, that big open lot. Sorry, the big lot that goes all the way between Overhill and White. So you've cut off half of that and then go all the way down to the bottom side of the alley the lower side of the alley. Does it have to be that? I mean, I'm just sort of wondering if, and this would be a little bit more of a lift, but because the buildings appear to be on top of property lines or lot lines. But I was just wondering if it could be like halfway or a quarter of way, like just below the buildings. And have that, so have the area that was rezoned to traditional neighborhood, say, or mixed use, not go all the way down to the bottom of the alley, but instead just below where the buildings are.
These are just examples of where it could be. As you're pointing out, it could be cut many different ways. You look on the photograph on page 26 and you see sort of the Raro footprint with the fence. I think I'm just generally following that fence line down that I may match that property line. So that's why I picked that particular side. And then for the other part, just down to the paper alley coming through along McLaughlin, just because it sort of squared it off. And then anything below that ends up being that new stormwater facility, best management practice thing that's going to be going in. So that actually brings up a point. I'm not sure. Well, actually, I shouldn't say it. So I don't know exactly like how far left it's coming. So what usable open space is going to be left between the buildings and the stormwater facility, but I don't know the distances, so I should probably back off of that statement.
But
Well,
in
what-
some ways, it doesn't matter because this city, whenever, if the city ever sells those lots, they'll have to subdivide them anyway. And the subdivision doesn't necessarily have to fit in. It could be smaller than what we designate, but we probably don't want to make, but we don't want to make it too small. I don't think we'd want to have say that only a little bit is traditional or whatever we rezone, whatever we designate it as, or else the city will have to then amend the future land use map and then subdivide it.
So is the city wanting to sell lots? Like, sorry,
No,
I'm just
city's-
looking.
I've got to be careful. City's not wanting to do anything. This is
Okay.
just an observation that we have buildings, again, similar to the last one,
Yeah.
in parks or conservation open space designation. And that's an inconsistency in my mind. It doesn't need to be addressed, but it was just a question of, do we want to address it? There's not been any discussions at all about selling parcels. It's Raro. We are pretty sure, I think we're pretty sure that that facility is going to be built by the high school. So they're likely not going to need that building anymore. So what becomes of it? And then we've had discussions. I've heard rumors over time that the health department may not be there long term for whatever that's worth. So it's just, again, it's an inconsistency in do we address it or do we not while we're doing the 5-year review.
Right.
I have a question. Why did it change from the RLC to the mixed use on the future land map on the other side of the street, which is over there by the hospice?
Are you talking about the mixed neighborhood section?
Right.
Down where McLaughlin is?
It used to be RLC above. Am I understanding that correct?
Oh,
Are you going
you're
back?
on
to-
27.
Yeah, on 27, the upper picture shows that area RLC.
Well, that's a good point. That's this an inconsistency between what the zoning currently says and what the future land use designation is.
Okay.
Right.
That's another justification that it's already RLC. So why is it traditional neighborhood for the 2 hospice parcels?
Right.
That's what I guess
Right.
that's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, updating that doesn't seem problematic to
No.
me, right? I mean, what's the
I'm sorry, say.
updating the sort of the hospice parcels there to mixed use,
Traditional neighborhood?
They shouldn't be traditional neighborhood right there.
right?
Well, and even
Oh.
is the health department now, it's on, like on 27 is already
Right,
zoned RLC.
right.
Is it?
hmm Yeah, that's an accurate zoning map. Yes.
I mean, I don't see any downside off the top of my head to making the zoning and future land use consistent on those parcels, right? Does anyone see a cost to doing that?
Certainly not on the hospice site.
Not on
The-
the hospice site, but I do think that the, across from the RARO and the health department in general is more consistent with R1.
Mm.
It would make sense to me that the divide would be,
White Street.
yeah, White Street would be, the other side would be R1 and
Right.
the right side potentially would be.
Those would be some pretty prime housing sites
Yeah.
backing onto the park.
Next to the
You could-
school,
I'm sorry,
next to the school.
next to the
Like,
school. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you could sell those for quite a bit of, the city could sell those for quite a bit of money. I mean, I guess is since the zoning map is the health department, those 4 lots are currently zoned RLC. Can we rezone them? Is there any
Rezone or we're
Future
talking
land.
about
future land,
the future land use designation.
sorry. So we can have them in a different future land use designation. I feel like I would put the top part, which is enough for a house and a yard with a yard. I guess I would put the top area, the big area that runs along Myers Street. Is it Myers Street right there? No, Highland Street.
Highland.
Um,
Are you talking about with the health department or hospice?
no, I'm talking about the health department and the RARO.
Right.
That whole big lot there.
It's
It
shown on
includes
28.
both of
We would
those.
like to see
You're
that.
saying it's shown on 28?
On 27,
Currently, the future land that shows those as being conservation.
that's right. And
Mhm.
I would put them in traditional
Traditional
neighborhood,
Neighborhood. I agree.
Mhm.
but
It
not,
is-
but
it's
not
shown
the
on
ones
28.
behind, not the little lots that are running behind
You'd
them.
make those conservation?
I would keep those conservation.
Mhm.
Is that running all the way to Overhill Drive?
Oh, the long.
Caution you about the sledding.
No.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That.
So I don't think we
You
even
just
want to
can't-
Where
do
does,
that.
where does the sledding happen? I don't know.
Building on the
Girl,
corner,
you don't
like
know where the sledding
electrical
happens?
power.
You mean here? There's a gas company.
Okay.
It's a
I
gas.
think that's why
Yeah.
Arnie has it shown on 28 makes sense.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to
Oh.
eliminate the sledding hill.
No, we
So
would
where
get
does the
shot, I
sledding
mean, or
happen?
toilet
Is it
paper
from
or something.
on
Over
the
here.
picture?
Over here. Down this way.
Down this.
Yeah, don't extend it to Overland.
No,
So, no,
no.
Okay, so what I had here. This is in your map, you've got this yellow line.
Hmm?
Sorry, you've got this yellow line, here. Right at the end of RARO. That's where I would stop it.
right.
This area would be traditional neighborhood.
It's just
and
on the
then
other
leave
side of
everything
Raro,
else.
I think, right, is what you're thinking, just the other far side of Raro, which is before the sledding hill, before
Correct.
RVU Drive. right?
Before
Okay.
the sacred sledding hill.
No,
Right.
no, I don't think Raro actually fits neatly on that one.
The
You're
footprints-
assuming Raro fits on that. It doesn't really. It does encroach onto those
Right.
lots.
Right, and
behind.
that was my initial question is, could we expand beyond the RARO building?
And that's why 28,
far?
like he's got it drawn, is probably a good. If you've looked at those properties, that's where the parking lot is and
Yeah.
it comes out.
Right. It's like the line from the parking lot up, correct?
Yeah, right, right.
You can see that a little bit on page 27, sort of with the aerial and the zoning, where the sort of the building footprint for Raro is and the parking lots that y'all were just talking about.
Mhm.
A little hard to see, but
But I believe that's still before you hit the sledding hill.
oh,
You
yeah,
draw
yeah,
that
yeah.
line up,
Yeah.
correct?
I've definitely protected the sledding hill
Mm-hmm.
on the record.
So we're talking about, going from,
You're being recorded.
moving from White Street, that would be, behind the health department, behind Raro, towards the Woods Creek. There'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those long lots.
From White Street, yep,
Would you want to splice them in half, parallel with the alley line,
roughly.
right below the tree line in Arnie's 20, zoning map on page 27?
Sure, that could work. Just slice them halfway.
And make that traditional neighborhood?
Yep.
That would be enough for 2 houses, right?
Well,
With that space.
no, it would be enough
Three,
for,
maybe four.
Oh, is it that much?
or 5 even. If they were close together.
It was
You could just extend the
cottage.
lines up to Highland Street, Highland Road.
The other thing to perhaps take into mind while we're maybe going a little bit too far in this, is a 5 year. So what do we think is going to happen in 5 years? I'm not sure if that helps your discussion or thought pattern, but we're going to review this again in 5. In case nothing happens between now and 5, then we can review it again.
Yeah, we're just gonna modify the future land use map. We're not gonna do
Right.
any zoning or.
Right. So those would go in traditional neighborhood, that section.
Right.
Mhm.
Does everybody understand that? I think I understand it, but I'm not 100% sure. So anything from the driveway up, so sort of parallel to the alley, but we're not going to pick up traditional neighborhood until we hit that drive that feeds into the backside of Raro. And then we're going to go all the way up the hill to Highland and then go over to the yellow line that you see on page 28. Does that sound on the
When you
left
say
hand?
driveway, are you referring to the alley that basically
No.
continues from McLaughlin? I don't know where your driveway is.
Like the backside of Raro?
Yeah. I'm in driveway here.
Okay,
Right.
okay,
The driveway is where?
Charlie's trying to protect from here down.
okay,
Right.
Right,
think it's good.
halfway.
okay. Okay.
Okay, so
And north of White Street, we would leave the future land use map as it currently is.
and right, so that area would then,
I thought we were gonna make that hot
was-
parcel mixed
that was
use.
mixed use, I
Yeah.
think, yeah. Does. So on one side, so instead of having 2 designations, there would be 3. Part of it, the lower part towards Woods Creek Park and White Street would remain conservation open space. The section that includes Raro, the health department, and their parking lots down to the tree line would become traditional neighborhood, and then the hospice lots would become mixed use. Is that what everybody is understanding?
Yeah. I was just curious, why are the condo areas listed RLC in the current map anyway, if they're residential? Are condos not
I think as you,
considered residential?
It has to be either RLC or multifamily.
Oh, okay, okay.
RLC zoning district.
So it can't be R1 as a condo unit, I got it.
so where does the RLC that we're gonna extend to the hospice parcel, is it just gonna be the hospice parcel?
And the one adjacent to it, maybe?
And the one adjacent to it.
Parking
So-
lot.
So these two, these two,
So these 2.
right?
Which
And-
really are all
Those
both
Those
hospice.
would be mixed use, which is
Would-
this, which is RL, this is currently RC.
So that, those could
This
be
is
apartments. They could be apartments or condos or.
So what is allowed in RLC?
In RLC, as an example, attached accessory dwelling units is a by right, detached is conditional. Don't even know about chickens. Group homes are by right, guest room is by right, live work dwelling, multifamily is a conditional use. So apartments are conditional use. Single family dwelling attached and detached are by right, townhouses are by right, and a duplex is by right, just as
Okay,
far
that
as
sounds
some of the
good.
residential.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Yep.
So, but mixed, yeah, okay, so good. All right, so are we all on the same page?
Yeah.
Do we need to? Do you all need us to restate that in any way?
No, if I may just go over that quickly, just to make sure, the
Mhm.
2 hospice parcels would go to the mixed use neighborhood.
Mhm.
And the parcels that I have outlined on page 28, the lower section closest to Woods Creek will stay the conservation open space, but that driveway line in essence that feeds into the back of the Raro building from there up to Highland will become traditional neighborhood.
Correct. Okay. Next, was there a third one?
Well, the
Just the
Raro
connection.
Health is separate from the hospice, so there were two there.
Okay. Do we need any vote? We don't.
I think there's a general agreement here that will be packaged up into the final draft that'll come to you for review before, and then you'll make adjustments to that, and then it goes out to public hearing. So
Okay,
you'll have one more review of that.
great. And I see that I skipped public comment. Does anybody want to make a public comment about this item on the agenda? I'm looking at you two. Yeah, come on up. And Natalie, if you'll state your name and address.
Hi, my name's Natalie.
Natalie.
Egger,
Yeah.
and I'm from Wilmette, Illinois. And I just wanted to make a comment on the property that you guys were previously discussing. Professor Eastwood, you mentioned that like the presence of development like on or near cemeteries is like definitely something to be aware of, and I completely agree. And I just wanted to bring up another property that I found out about looking at some of these old maps that is right next to, it's like on the corner of, it's in the similar area as you're going and you turn onto like North Lewis. That there, I saw that that used to be like an African American cemetery, like back in the day.
On
And
North Lewis.
Washington and Lewis.
Washington and Lewis, really?
yeah, like as you're coming up, like, and then you go, and then Kroger's like right here.
Yeah.
But right here, there, like multiple years, that was like not zoned, but like like mapped out in all these old maps
Mm-hmm.
as being a cemetery. And it's always intrigued me because we take such good care of the other cemetery.
Yes, we do.
And we're thinking of this one, which is so valid. It's just such a development pattern across the country. But I wanted to let you
What's
guys
currently,
know.
what currently occupies that space?
There's a house on it.
A couple houses. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's like a house, like, and it's kind of set back from the road, but yeah, there probably is a couple, like, there's houses along that line, and it's a neighborhood
Is that on the same side of Lewis as Sigma Nu or across?
across.
Okay.
Mm.
Thank you guys.
And I'm
Appreciate
not
it.
sure
Okay,
if anybody
thank you.
knows the history, if those graves were moved or not, but
Most likely.
yeah, I would suspect so.
Removal of cemeteries is a really problematic issue. And they're often done in a way that we would consider to be inappropriate and insensitive today.
Yeah, I've done a little bit of research on it, and that's sort of been the impression, but
It-
on the Lexington scale, it's always good to
Yeah,
keep in mind.
thanks for
Yeah.
pointing that out.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
guys.
Thank you.
Okay, any other public comment? Okay, closing public comment. And we're going to move on to item D under new business, which is ZOA 2026-01 Townhouse Amendment. Arnie, do we have a staff report?
Indeed, this is sort of the first reading or your review of this, and to then be advertised for the next meeting for a public hearing. But we do have a resolution from council to take a look at townhouses, and specifically to address the requirement that any townhouse shall front on or be accessed by a public street. In just the review or the initial comments there, townhouses currently are required to have frontage on or be accessed by a public street. And that can cause issues when you're not in a truly gridded street pattern. And I always think of the fan where you have the public alley and you have the street, and then the townhouses fit quite nicely on that. We're now into parcels that have a little bit more depth. We don't have many, mind you, left, but it's just so much harder to provide a townhouse layout if you have to hold them to just being accessed by a public street. So the thought here is to simply either modify or simply remove C. So the highlighted item there, and keep the other three townhouse standards that we currently have. And now there is the option of modifying C so that it can be accessed by a public street and by a private driveway. But by the time you do all that, what's the point? Maybe it's just easier to get rid of it. But I do invite you, if you can figure out a way, or if it's an improvement, to modify C in a way that allows them to also be located on private drives, or is it just more effective to just delete C? So again, the intent is to allow more flexibility so that we could allow townhouses potentially and lots in the city of Lexington and not be hampered by this particular provision.
Can you describe what it means? I'm not quite sure what it means to be accessed by. Does that not, like, I'm thinking about the Spotswood property, for example, if you put 2 rows of, like, if this is Spotswood Drive and here's the property, this piece of paper, and you put a driveway in and had townhouses lining, they wouldn't be on the street, but they would still be accessed by the street. Is that correct? Or
Because I would take a more conservative approach, because it's not defined what be accessed by a public street. So if somebody were to come in, and we had this issue when the Spotswood Collaborative, one of their 3 designs, as I recall, was a townhouse design, and they had a driveway, as you're describing, a driveway and then townhouses. But I would not, as a zoning administrator, say that that met this requirement, because they certainly weren't all being fronting on a public street. And then that access by, since it's not really defined, I wouldn't call that layout meeting this requirement.
no.
So therefore, it's easier to either further define what being accessed by a public street and then adding the part that we really need, which is the private drive, or just deleting this entire thing.
So if it said any townhouse shall front on or be accessed by a public street or a private drive, that would have resolved that potential.
Would in my mind, yes.
So quite a simple tweak. Anybody thoughts?
You could tweak it that way and also remove that troublesome clause or be accessed by.
So it would be,
Since that's undefined and unknown.
right, any townhouse shall front on a public street or a private drive.
What's the scenario that we're trying to avoid by retaining it?
If you retain it, if you use the Spotswood example, and I can't tell you how, I'm not sure how deep that parcel is.
Yeah.
You could line Spotswood Drive with townhouses, lots that are 100 feet in depth. And then what do you do with the remainder of the property behind it?
Right. But I mean, what do we gain by modifying it in the way that we're describing rather than just striking it?
Right.
I think if I'm a developer and I'm looking for this, I can see that if it's stricken, okay, well, it doesn't address it, so it should be. But if you leave it in, then it's maybe clearer for them. Oh, I could do it on a public, with a 50-foot wide right of way public street, or I have the ability to do it all along.
I see. So it's almost like inviting.
Right.
So it's not that
clear.
there's some other pattern of development that we're still trying to constrain by keeping it in that way. Right. Okay. I don't care. I'm fine with either then myself.
Good question.
So it sounds like, are we all in agreement? Any townhouse shall front on a public street or a private drive would be the language. All right. Motion and a second. Oh, wait. Public comment.
I guess well, no, I was only gonna add, I guess we're assuming that townhomes always have a garage, which they typically do, but that actually isn't in our definition. Because I was sort of thinking the General's Retreat is technically set up as townhomes the way it is.
Yeah.
They don't all front a public, if you have a parking lot, I'm just thinking of the case if you had a parking lot rather than individual garages
So the front may be the issue.
front on, or, but so leave the access by maybe shall front on or be accessed by a public or private street. Does that change the meaning a little bit or not really?
I agree with what you're saying, because
It's
those,
incomplete
because it's,
thought.
like, there's really not any, from the street, there's no entrance to any
Yeah,
of those
right.
advanced retreat. It's, you can go into the land and then you're in the front of it.
Yeah,
But no,
right.
I totally agree.
So the fronts
Um,
and those, so you're talking about the green space in between rows of townhouses
Yeah,
that are facing each other. So if that's the front, then that's to the green space and
Right.
not to the driveway or the parking area. Is that the point?
yeah, right. So maybe do leave in that or shall front on or be accessed by a public or private street.
It allows more flexibility
Yeah,
for
right,
layout.
right. Yes.
That makes sense.
Okay, before we go any further, I'm going to open up the floor to public comment.
Yeah, I guess-
Because I'm getting myself backwards.
Discussion.
Good evening. I'm Evan Clark. I'm a student at WNL, so that's where I live. And I think the priority here were to the matter of flexibility, how if we're thinking about Spotswood, thinking about our new resolution, we want to maximize the economic capabilities of that space. If I were in your shoes, striking it completely maximizes flexibility in that way, because the current, just keeping the requirement of any drive whatsoever is going to limit the developer and what they can and can't do. As a person who lived in a townhouse back in Kansas, like the developer is still going to be driven by market incentives to provide parking. Obviously, there's still parking minimums, but provide access to parking as needed. And seeing some of the most innovative developing project, like housing developing across the US, they are investing in extra green spaces and third spaces in replacing of private drives and a car lane. So just thinking, like, if we're really committed to maximizing the economic potential of the space, a street isn't going to do that. Something else really could go into that and lean into that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We'll go back to commission discussion now. Sorry about that. So, well, thoughts on, so Arnie, is there, let's just go back to John's and Evan's thought about the striking it entirely. Is your thought that striking it entirely makes it less appealing to developers? Is it more appealing to have some direction? Does it?
My thought initially was just to strike it because that's the simplest thing to do, but then had a little bit of a second guess and just thinking, well, if it's not there in the reading through and somebody wants to do a townhouse development, they don't have direction. They'll just perhaps presume that there's no requirement and that's fine. They are off on the flexible design pattern. Or is it helpful to them to have something that specifically says it could be public or privately accessed, and then they are aware and know what the requirements are and then can go and design. But because we do have the point where the fronts and whatnot and the way, and it's right that General's Retreat is laid out where the rear is actually where the parking is and the front is on a nicer green space. So I think I may have talked myself into just recommending it be
Striking
deleted.
it. Okay. Commission,
I like that.
striking,
That's
striking.
And just one other question. We don't have anywhere else that prohibits a general prohibition on private streets, do we? I know we, in general, that would be the only reason to keep in.
I went through and did a word search for drive and private drive. And I don't recall immediately that there would be any other conflict.
Okay, then I'm good with striking it all together.
Yeah, I think we should just strike it, right? Because I think Evan makes a good point in public comment. There's a kind of implicit presumption of car centricness in the way that we're defining that. And, in terms of the actual implications for what can be built there, it doesn't make a difference, but why imply that when we don't have to? I think that's a good point. And so the simplest thing here might be the best and the clearest. Yeah.
All right. Motion and a second.
I motion to remove C from I need to do the whole thing. Sorry, I'm out of practice. I don't think I can do this. Sorry, everybody.
Sorry, we didn't give you a template.
It's okay.
What page is the template on?
30 at the very end. It's pretty simple. It's just,
Yeah,
Down at the bottom?
I motion that we approve the removal of C for ZOA 2026-01. Good.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And opposed? And the motion carries. All right. Thank you. Thank you for our public comments. Appreciate that. Okay. Moving on to other business. Do we have a zoning and planning report?
Yes, just two quick items. We have received our second fire sprinkler suppression system grant program application, and that's for the Dole building where Pumpkin Seeds used to be located. And the first one that was already approved by the EDA is the Bank of the James for the upper floor and the lower floor. So that's the first approval, and the one that I just mentioned about the Dole building will go to the EDA next week.
Great.
Second thing to mention is homeowner helper program. We conducted 4 inspections, well, today and yesterday, for the 4 applications that came in for that particular grant program. That threshold will go through the work write-ups and with the funding that's available and make those awards, but it will then go to the Economic Development Authority because they actually have the funding and they will be the ones that will provide the loan for those.
That's great. Is there a timeline on that homeowner helper?
There's something in the program summary that says something about Memorial Day, and I'm hoping that we can certainly make that. This is a new program for us. As we're going through the steps, we're learning little things, but we're hoping to have a discussion for threshold at their next meeting, which is the last Wednesday of the month. My presumption is going to take them more than one meeting. They may have to hold an extra or special meeting instead of waiting an entire month to go through all of the criteria and figure out how best to disperse that grant money.
Right.
Then after that to the EDA, and then we have to find contractors to do the work.
And is that a program that'll repeat?
It is not currently funded for the next fiscal year. But as the money comes back in, that this is a program for people who cannot afford to make improvements. And they can certainly pay the loan 0% interest loan back if they so choose. But we will expect to receive our funding back when the property changes hands. So there is, and that could happen, maybe one of the properties in 1 year, they could all not happen for 10 years.
Right.
So there will be the funding as it comes back in. We just don't know what cycle that will be on.
Okay. Thank you. City council report?
yeah, we met last Thursday and just 2 items that are sort of planning related. We had a proposal from Peter Sills on a redevelopment proposal for Spotswood. It would be 12 condominium units, 4 buildings, 12 units total. So we just heard his proposal. And then the Airport Feasibility Committee had their first meeting. And one interesting item is there are 56 general aviation airports in Virginia, and that's the proposal for the type of airport that would be here, would be general aviation.
Right.
So at this point, we're just working on an application for a feasibility study.
And is that tied to a specific location?
They had, no, not yet.
No? Okay.
And that's actually what the feasibility study will look at.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, friends. Here we are, end of the road.
I move to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
You all. It's all right. I think it's 11 more. Thank
You very, very much. I appreciate it.
I need to go back and listen to audio or actually.